Page 262. Amelia gets angry. Amelia stared out in wonder at the world, the wind whipping back her hair as she struck Captain Soot. She had no words at the moment, not because she wasn't thinking of anything, but because she was thinking too much. Her mind was moving as fast as the air, a crazy swirling whirlwind of emotions, relief, happiness, sadness, gratitude, grief, fear, wonder, anger. The main emotion, though, was a kind of homesickness. She obviously wasn't homesick for the workhouse. She wasn't even homesick for 99 Haberdashery Road. She knew someone else would be living there by now. And even if there wasn't, a house was just a house. No, she felt homesick, not for a place, but for a time. Maybe it wasn't homesickness at all. Maybe it was time sickness. She just missed those days when she was younger, 7, 6, 5, 4 years old, when she didn't know so much about the world. She missed, most of all, her mother. Father Christmas pointed at the barometer of hope. You are a part of the reason it glows so bright, he told her as they flew over Prussia, roughly where Germany is on a map now. Because you believe in magic again, you see. You were the first ever child I visited. Because you were the one with the most hope inside you. You believed in every possibility, and that is very rare, even in a child. And now you believe again. You see, sometimes a single child believing in magic, if they believe enough, can restore order to the universe. Hope fuels dreamwickery, and that's the main form of elf magic. How did you become magic? Asked Amelia. Father Christmas stared at her curious eyes, shining like tiny planets. I nearly died. I had given up hope. The elves needed to do a dreamwig to bring me back to life. That's what gave me the magic. It made me see where the elves lived, because I suddenly believed in magic, just as you do now. I should have died on Big Mountain, but I was given another chance. The moment he said it, he knew it was a mistake, because 2 big fat tears had appeared in those eyes. He assumed she was sad. But actually, Amelia was angry. She felt the anger rise inside her like lava in a volcano, and she erupted. So, why couldn't you have dreamwigged my mother? Why couldn't you have saved her? I don't care about presents. I only wanted that one thing. I had hoped so hard, and you never did it. Mary tried to comfort Amelia. She put a hand on her shoulder. Listen, Amelia, it is terrible what happened to you, proper tragic, but it ain't Miss Christmas's fault. Amelia calmed down a little. She sort of knew Mary was right, but she couldn't stop this feeling inside her. I'm sorry, Amelia, said Father Christmas. I got your letter, but when I was dreamwigged, I was on the other side of the mountain. I was beyond the northern lights. I wasn't in the human world anymore. And besides, there was no way of flying to you last Christmas. There had been a troll attack, and the magic levels were... I'm sorry, it's just... I miss her, Amelia said. Course you do, said Mary, and she started to cry for the poor girl. Amelia's head felt heavy with all these sad thoughts, so she rested it on Mary's shoulder. It's just strange, isn't it? She said. You know, you love someone and they love you back, and then they're gone. Where does that love go? Father Christmas thought about this. He thought about his own mother, who had died after falling down a well. He thought about his father, who died years later, when he was much older than Amelia. He turned to Amelia and said nothing at first. He felt so sorry for her. He wanted to explain that he had tried to come to her last Christmas, but hadn't been able to. He wanted to tell her that magic can't do everything we want it to, but it can make life a lot happier. But he thought it wasn't the time, so he said something else. The love of a person never disappears, he said softly, even if they might. We have memories, you see, Amelia. Love never dies. We love someone and they love us back, and that love is stored, and it protects us. It is bigger than life, and it doesn't end with life. It stays inside us. They stay inside us, inside our hearts. Amelia said nothing. She thought she might burst into tears if she spoke, so she was quiet for a while, and it helped. Then she noticed the barometer of hope. "Why have the lights gone off?" Amelia said. It was true. The barometer of hope was no longer glowing. It was down to a tiny little wisp of violet, and the clock was ticking forward again. Father Christmas stared at the dashboard, and his rosy cheeks went as white as snow. He picked up the phone. "Hello, Father Topo. I don't understand it. We've saved Amelia, but the lights are still too dim." Father Topo sighed. It was the kind of sigh that says bad news is about to arrive. And it did. It's noosh. Page 267. The Troll Valley. Noosh had climbed down the craggy slopes of the Troll Valley under the moonlight. She had carefully and quietly walked across the snow, stepping over goat skeletons and loose rocks, and had given a little shudder at the occasional giant four-toed footprint. She had a plan. It was a very simple one. It was to talk to Urgula, the supreme troll leader. She gulped at the thought. But after that, she would be able to write the best daily snow story of all time. And as Father Vodol had reassured her, trolls never wanted to actually kill elves. But then she remembered the giant feast that had burst through her bedroom and grabbed the humdrum. Yes, it was true that humdrum was still alive. But thinking about it now, she was pretty sure that without the soap, something very bad would have happened. Urgula was the troll with the power over all the under-trolls and wooba trolls. She was the leader because she was the largest. That's how trolls worked. The bigger you are, the more power you got, and the more roasted goats you got to eat. The trouble was that no elf had ever seen the supreme troll leader before. But Noosh knew she lived in the cave in the largest mountain at the western edge of the valley. This was written about in the complete Trollpedia, which Noosh had read 49 times while studying journalism. Then, after a lot of walking, she saw a glowing orange light, a campfire in the middle of the valley. She would have to go around this if she was to get closer to Urgula's cave. Around the campfire there were trolls of every size, under-trolls and wooba trolls. Noosh could see their large shadows moving on the snowy hills all around. They were drinking larger than Noosh, bottles of troll ale and eating roasted mountain goat. They were wearing clothes made out of goat skins roughly stitched together, and they were being very loud, not because it was Christmas, but because they were always loud. They were singing the old troll classic, "Some of my best friends are rocks." As trolls were on the slightly stupid side, it was quite easy for Noosh to sneak up a bit closer and hide behind a hingle bush. She listened to what the trolls were saying once the singing had stopped. "Can you be remembering last Christmas?" said one, the smallest, with one eye. An under-troll Noosh recognized from the troll attack. "Yeah, Thud, when we be smashing up Elfhelm." "Why did we do that?" "'Cause Urgula told us to," said Thud. "Yeah, but why?" "I dunno." "Why we be out here?" "We be waiting." "For what?" "Something." "Waiting," thought Noosh. And suddenly she had a very bad feeling. It was the kind of feeling that a mouse would have in approaching cheese, only to realize the cheese was on a trap. Who were they waiting for? Noosh gasped. She had made a terrible mistake in coming here. What was she thinking? She was very worried about how this conversation was going as she cowered behind the bush, hearing these trolls with voices as rough as the stony caves all around. And she was even more worried a second later, because that was when she heard another voice altogether, a small, high-pitched voice that she knew better than any other in the world. "Mommy!" It was little Mim. Page 272. Inside the Troll's Feast. Noosh turned and saw little Mim standing in the middle of the valley. He stood there in his bright tunic and had never seemed too small. His head was tilted to one side, and his arms were stretched wide as if expecting a hug. "Mummy, I've been following you. I followed your footstep all the way." Noosh wasted no time. She ran over to her son and scooped him up in her arms. Just as she was scooping him up, someone else was scooping her up, scooping both of them up, and they were rising fast through the air. 3 seconds later, Noosh was staring at the largest face she had ever seen. It was an uber troll with hairy nostrils, warty skin, and 3 eyes. The middle eye was in its forehead, but not quite the middle of the forehead. It was a bit too far to the left, as if the troll had been put together from a kit by a toddler. "I'm sorry, Mommy," whimpered little Mim from the darkness of the Troll's Feast. Noosh stroked his hair. "It's all my fault, darling. I shouldn't have come here. It's going to be okay." "It's going to be okay?" Noosh admitted to herself that she'd never heard anything so ridiculous. There they were, 100 yards up in the air, being half crushed by a troll's fist, and very possibly about to die. But still, Noosh tried to stay positive as she waved at the troll. "We mean no harm. My son and I were just taking a late-night Christmas stroll, and we got lost and—" The troll just kept staring. Her name was Samantha. She had a purple wart on her nose, shining like a Christmas bauble, and now there were other trolls behind her. 5 of them. 6 if you counted both heads of the two-headed one. One of the trolls, the one with one eye, spoke. "That be what we're waiting for," she said. This was Thud. Noosh decided to be honest. "All right, listen. I'm a journalist. I work for the Daily Snow. I'm their reindeer correspondent, actually. And I was just doing an investigation. Well, not really an investigation. I was just planning. But the thing is, I'm not that happy being reindeer correspondent. So, you see, I thought I'd do this story about trolls that I was asked to cover, about what happened last Christmas, and I've discovered that it wasn't your fault. You are quite a peaceful species, really. It's just that the flying story pic..." Just at the moment, she saw one fluttering above her, a 4-winged flying story pixie. This pixie fluttered down and whispered something in the troll's ear. Whatever it wasn't good. "You'll be here to kill us," said Samantha. She squeezed them a bit tighter. "No, that's not it at all," shouted Noosh. "Look at us. How could me and my son kill a troll? Think about it." "We do not be liking thinking," said Thud, scratching his head. "It be hurting our brains." "Mommy, I'm scared," whimpered little Mim. And Noosh tried to comfort her son, but found it was quite hard to do so from inside the grip of a troll's tight, dry, goat-scented fist. She desperately dug in her pockets for the emergency bar of soap she had brought with her. There, she found it. But there wasn't much elbow room in the troll's fist. Wriggling her arm, she managed to pull out the soap, and she rubbed it hard against the troll's skin. It blistered and bubbled and started to steam. Whoa! The noise of the anguished troll was terrifying. It was the loudest noise Noosh and Little Mim had ever heard, and it echoed through the valley like thunder. The troll started to shake her fist in the air. Noosh and Little Mim screamed. Noosh, in her panic, clenched her own fist extra hard around the soap. The soap slipped fast out of her fingers and fell through the gap between 2 of the troll's fingers. She could just about to see it fall and disappear with a small thud on the snowy ground far below. "Oh, stinky mud fungal," swore Noosh. Just as a tiny bar of soap was flying through the air, something else was too. It was hard to see because the sky was still dark, though the first grainy light of morning was beginning to appear. Noosh saw it first. There were creatures pulling something. She would recognize the sight anywhere. It was Father Christmas and his sleigh. Noosh held tightly on to Little Mim, and they both peeped out of the cracks between the troll's fingers. They watched the sleigh hover in the air and saw that there were 2 people with Father Christmas, humans, a woman and a girl. But that wasn't important. All that mattered was that Father Christmas was there. "Mommy, we're going to be safe. Look, Father Christmas is here," squealed little Mim. "Let's hope so," said Noosh, cuddling her son. Father Christmas slowed the sleigh in the air around the troll's head. "Let them go," he pleaded. "They are peaceful elves. They don't want to harm you. Let them go, and let's talk." There were more trolls out in the valley. They were hunched, crooked, knobbly, gray-skinned creatures, one-eyed, two-eyed, or three-eyed, sometimes two-headed, some much smaller than others, but all in the emerging morning light remarkably scary. Out of a cave in the largest of the troll mountains, with footsteps that caused mini earthquakes, came Urgula and her husband Joe. Urgula was so tall she blocked out the moon. Her hair was as wild as a tree in the wind. When she opened her mouth, you could see all three of her teeth, each one the size and the shape of a rotten gray door. Another flying story pixie was whispering in Urgula's ear. Meanwhile, Father Christmas had landed his sleigh a good distance from the trolls. "Listen at the front," he told Blitzen and Donner. "This is very important. Fly Mary and Amelia back to Elfhelm. Take the quiet route, coming in from north-northeast." "What about you?" asked Mary, eyes widening with worry. Father Christmas heaved himself out of the sleigh. "Me? I'm going to make peace with the trolls." "Take me instead of them," said Father Christmas as he stood in front of the gigantic Urgula. Her skin was as rough and pitted as the snowy rocks on either side of the valley. She did a burp. It smelled foul, rotten goat meat. "Look, why eat them?" asked Father Christmas. "Elves are bony. Look at my big belly. You'd be far better off eating me." "Let the elves go, Samantha," said Urgula in a deep, booming voice that sounded like how a mountain would speak, if a mountain ever chose to speak. A flying sorry pixie whispered in her ear. And then, in that moment, Noosh and Little Min found themselves being swung low in Samantha's hand before flying through the air. They held onto each other's hand and kept flying right out of the valley and over the wooded hills, where the pixies lived. They landed on the soft snow of the slope not far above the Truth Pixie's cottage. They started to roll faster and faster down the hill until they were two big snowballs with faces sticking out of them. "Mommy, I'm going to be sick," said Little Mim, shivering. He was right. We won't go into detail, but elf sick is actually quite a pretty purple color. As the snow crumbled off them, the door of the cottage opened and out popped the Truth Pixie herself. "Hello again," said Noosh breathlessly as she pushed herself out of the remains of the snowball. "We really need your help. Father Christmas in trouble." Page 281. A Christmas Dinner. Father Christmas was lying down on a large raised stone in the center of Urgula's cave, while Urgula commanded the one-eyed Thud to keep him in place. Thud pressed his hand, heavy as a rock, on Father Christmas's belly. Urgula's cave was vast, and the roof was very high, high enough for Urgula and Joe to stand up in and stare down at Father Christmas as an entourage, only 3 times taller than Father Christmas, sprinkled Father Christmas with herbs and rock salt. "We be having a Christmas dinner," said Urgula. "We be having a Father Christmas dinner. You be small, but I bet you be tasty. Nice Christmas, good Christmas." Thud, light the fire. "Listen, Urgula," said Father Christmas. He tried to sit up but couldn't compete with Thud's strength. His magic wasn't working. There was probably no magic left in the air now. And so there was nothing he could do about the massive, heavy hand on top of him. He started to notice that the stone he was lying on was getting hotter. And as he saw the walls of the troll cave flicker with shadow and glow with a fiery kind of orange, he realized that this wasn't just a stone. It was a stove. Father Christmas was about to be cooked alive. "What happened? I don't understand it. Only 3 years ago, you signed the peace treaty. All trolls and elves were meant to live in peace. Everyone signed the peace treaty. Even the Hulderfolk and the Pixies and the Tomtigoops and the Easter Bunny. And she lives 100 miles away. What went wrong? Why did you attack Elfham last Christmas? And why do this today? It's Christmas. It's the time of peace and understanding and goodwill. And then Father Christmas remembered the time when he was a boy trapped in prison in Elfham. Fearing for his own life, he had failed to save an undertroll called Sebastian. Is it about Sebastian? But it wasn't about Sebastian. Nobody cares about Sebastian, said Sebastian's brother Horace, picking his nose somewhere behind Ursula. Sebastian were annoying. Is this about the Hulip? Because I'll have you know that, as leader of the Elf Council, I have made sure no one is allowed to grow Hulip anymore. Hulip was a dangerous plant that, when swallowed, could cause the troll's head to explode. In that moment, about to be cooked, Father Christmas wished he'd never had it banned. So, what is this about? What was last year's attack about? We want trolls to be left alone, said Joe sleepily, as if he was remembering a dream. We don't want elves coming here, and we definitely don't want your type coming here. My type? The human type. And if you be going there into human lands, they'll be coming here. Humans aren't as bad as you think, and they don't know about trolls. Father Christmas wondered what time it was and thought of all those children who might soon have to wake up with no presents in their stockings. He had to get out of here, he thought as the heat started to singe his red suit. We don't like outsiders, said Ursula. It was then that Father Christmas noticed hundreds of flying story pixies darting around the cave, their wings glowing orange as they reflected the fire, cupping their hands and whispering into all the trolls' ears. Don't trust him, one whispered. He's a no-good human, said another. Father Christmas began to realize what was going on. What about pixies? He asked. You welcome pixies here. No, we don't, said Ursula gruffly. But look, they are all around you. The trolls looked, and they realized it was true. They really were flying story pixies all around them. They had never really noticed them before, because the pixies were such delicate, whispery things that didn't want to be noticed. So they be, observed Ursula, her mouth wide in wonder. They're whispering things into your ears. They're making you believe things that aren't true. They're hypnotizing you. All the trolls looked a bit grumpy at this. One of the heads of the two-headed troll got so angry he said, Trolls be not stupid. You be saying that us big clever trolls be not having brains for our own? Father Christmas was getting really hot now. His back felt like it was burning as red as his coat. Even Thud, leaning over him, was hot. A bead of sweat dripped off his warty forehead and turned midair into a pebble which bounced off Father Christmas's stomach. I'm just trying to tell you what is actually happening. The flying story pixies make you fear outsiders. You are being brainwashed. That's what's happening. And what be happening now is we be going to finish you, said Ursula. Then she pointed at Thud, who had tied up Father Christmas. See, we was waiting for you. We not be wanting the elf and a boy. But how did you know I'd come? Asked Father Christmas, his face as hot as a real coal. This seemed to genuinely confuse Ursula. We just did. Now, more fire. Let's heat him up. And then a noise, a sound, something cutting through the rasping sound of troll breath and the crackle of fire. From somewhere else in the cave, a footstep, maybe, quite close, Ursula had heard it. There be a noise. Third heard it too, and dug his large grubby fingers into his eye socket to take his only eye out. It made a small plopping sound. He held the eye out in arm's length to see around the corner. It be a human girl, he said. Oh no, Amelia, muttered Father Christmas.